St. James, and I'd just like to talk a little bit about hijab. First point I'd like to make is that we have to remember there are actually 3 different types of hijab. So very often when we're talking about hijab, everyone is thinking only about what we're wearing, so which is specifically the headscarf. That's what lots of people start to think about first, as in, is the hair showing or not? There are actually 3 different types of hijab. So I'll just quickly summarize, obviously, the one we talk about most often, which is the hijab of the outer appearance, how we dress. And by the way, that hijab, the 3 different kinds of hijab apply to men and women, even though, again, we're usually always talking about women's hijab. But anyway, I'm a woman. I will talk about women's hijab right now. So the hijab of appearance of what we wear is basically, it is prescribed for us that we don't show our hair. So we're meant to cover our adornments, which is our hair, which is the shape, the outline of our body. So that means we cover our hair. That means if we have lots of jewellery, that should also be concealed under our clothing. So if we have necklace, if we have earrings, they should be covered by our headscarf, for example. Same if we have lots of bracelets, it's best to maybe cover them. So apart from the headscarf, the clothing we wear should cover all of our body, so that only the face and the hands down to the wrists are visible. So obviously there are different ways of actually then using that idea of the outer hijab, whether people wear chador, whether they wear abaya, or whether they wear just longer layers of clothing, which are modest because they don't show the outline of the body. So that's just the outer hijab. Then the 2 other hijabs. So one of the other 2 types of hijab is the hijab of how we talk, hijab of our speech. So that means that we do not raise our voice unduly. We don't use bad language. And then the 3rd type of hijab is the hijab of behavior. So we behave respectfully towards other people. We behave in a respectful manner towards our own dignity, in a sense. So we, for men and women equally, we're not overly playful, or a word in English is coquettish or flirtatious. So we don't behave like that towards the opposite gender, for example. Now, because obviously I'm not originally from Iran, couple of pointers about how hijab can actually protect the woman. So, for example, one thing that some teenage girls have said to me is that they've complained about the sports uniform they have to wear in the West, because they've pointed out that, for example, the boys get to wear the long shorts and the girls for sport have to wear very short shorts. Now, very typically, teenage girls, they go through changes, and so the way they feel in their body also changes. So maybe they just don't feel quite as comfortable. Maybe they're happier actually wearing more modest clothing. And that is actually quite normal. So actually having hijab, for example, hijab for maybe for playing sport would actually be very useful for girls like that. And obviously in Iran, for example, it's very easy. We all know that there are female sports teams, and they wear hijab, and they play judo, and they do archery. What else? They do anything. They play soccer, football, whatever you call it. They play ice hockey, anything. And then another point for you maybe is that think to yourself, whether you're a teenage girl, whether you're a woman in the workplace, if you have really good hijab, now the assumption is that most likely, both by women and men, you will be treated in a particular way. I suspect with more dignity, with more respect. Whereas if you have really bad hijab, let's say you show the shape of your body and you've got all your hair showing, and I don't know, maybe you've got jewellery all over the place, you're sort of giving a bit of an image to the outside world too. But look, that applies in the West too. So many women for work are very conservative. They wear trousers, they wear suits, which is a jacket and trousers. Very conservative, very modest. And then, for example, if you're a woman who doesn't dress like that, if you're a woman who instead wears very short skirts, I think you can probably imagine that you might just be treated in a slightly different way. So these are just a few pointers from me, from someone who wears hijab both in Iran and in the West, and maybe it'll just give you something else to think about. But the most important thing, for example, in the Islamic Republic of Iran is for mothers, because obviously daughters always look at what their mothers are doing, how their mothers dress, how they behave, what they say. So it's a hugely important role. And yeah, look, all our societies are changing with huge challenges. So inshallah, you can continue to be a really good role model if you are a mother, or if you're going to be a mother in the future. And this applies to men too, because obviously they need to encourage and promote and just support all the women in society, whether it's their mothers, their sisters, colleagues at work, so that this is made more easier for everyone. So thank you. Khod Hafiz and goodbye.